South Korea's changing shopping trend. Let's check mobile shopping, which is soon expected to exceed online shopping. President Park Geun-hye's visit to Vietnam. We will assess the implications and accomplishment of her sales diplomacy. Everything you can imagine is real. Introducing three-dimensional printing technology currently in the spotlight for its innovative technology. Let's meet an electronic scale maker which is expanding throughout the world. North Korea's making of heroes. Let's find out if there are hidden meanings about the system.
Hello, I'm Andrew Salmon. Welcome to Bizline. Now, South Korean President Park Geun-hye has just returned home after attending the G20 summit in St. Petersburg in Russia. And on the way home, she stopped off for a state visit to Vietnam. This marks the advent of what she's calling sales diplomacy. Was she successful? We'll find out in a moment. But before we go to that and other features, let's first take a look at all the breaking business and economic news hitting headlines across South Korea this week.
Korea's gross national income, a gauge of the population's purchasing power, climbed at its fastest pace in 4 years, in the second quarter rising nearly 3% from a quarter earlier. The Bank of Korea said that the nation's improved trade conditions were boosted by falling oil prices. The Korean government announced that it will expand its ban on Japanese fish imports to all fisheries products from waters near the embattled Fukushima nuclear plant. The move, which took effect on Monday, September 9th, bans imports from 8 prefectures, including Fukushima. The government also said it will tighten its inspection standards on Japanese fish imports from other areas. Samsung Electronics at the IFA Tech Convention in Berlin unwrapped a smartwatch that links with its Galaxy line smartphones. It can also make phone calls, take pictures, and send messages. The Galaxy Gear, featuring a 1.6-inch OLED screen, a 1.9 megapixel camera, and a built-in speaker, does not require users to reach into their pockets to check their mobile phones. The growth streak of Korean IT exports last month was fueled by soaring overseas demand for smartphones and semiconductors. Data released by the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Energy showed that exports of information technology goods jumped more than 11% from the same period last year. Last month's increase in outbound shipments of Korea's IT products marked the 12th consecutive month of growth.
Where do you usually go shopping? If you're an old-fashioned sort of a chap like me, you probably do your shopping in an old-fashioned bricks and mortar store known as a shop. But if you're from the millennial generation, you probably don't see any reason to leave the comfort of your computer desk when you want to buy stuff. Indeed, online sales are now in many cases surpassing high street sales. But even that may now become old hat. With the advent of the smartphone, mobile sales are surging to the point where shopping made by telephone may soon exceed sales from shopping on computers. How? When? Why? Let's take a look.
Everywhere you turn on the street, and even in the comfort of your home sweet home, there is always a smartphone or lightweight mobile device in your hands. You watch movies, chat with your friends, do some surfing on the internet, but there is yet another reason for clinging onto the device. And that's shopping, something people, not just women, love to do.
네, 요즘 사람들이 쉽고 간단하고 해서 모바일 쇼핑 많이 사용하는 것 같습니다.
아무래도 핸드폰으로 들고 다니다 보니까 편리해서 이용하고 있어요.
So what's the catch in shopping on mobile devices? Ms. Choi always uses mobile shopping every day. She finds that mobile shopping is very convenient.
네, 거의 요즘은 모바일로 많이 사게 되더라고요. 일단은 쉽고 뭐 회사 갈 때나 아니면 집에 있을 때도 컴퓨터는 일단 앉아야 되잖아요. 근데 모바일은 제가 누워서 할 수도 있고 편하니까 살 때도 또 결제도 예전보다 훨씬 편해져서 많이 이용하는 것 같아요.
According to the Korea Chamber of Commerce and Industry, more than 15.5 million people shopped on mobile on average every month in the first 6 months of this year. That is a sharp rise from more than 6 million people in the year earlier period. Shopping through mobile applications took about 4% of the entire shopping conducted online last year. And 7 out of 10 smartphone users have made purchases of goods using mobile applications at least once.
아직까지는 모바일 쇼핑 이용자 수가 PC 기반 이용자 수의 한 절반 정도에 지나지 않는데요. 이 스마트폰 이용자들도 많아졌고 또 스마트폰 이용 시간도 길어졌기 때문에 앞으로 모바일 쇼핑이 계속 고성장세를 유지할 것으로 보입니다.
In the 1990s, TV shopping in your living room was in vogue, and at the turn of the century, purchasing goods through the internet on personal computers was everyone's choice. Now, the latest trend in online shopping is using your mobile device. To address the growing needs to shop on mobile devices, companies have moved quickly to adapt to changes, as did with this biggest TV home shopping company in South Korea.
TV 홈쇼핑은 그 전체 매출액 자체는 증가를 하고 있지만 고객의 전체 수는 사실은 세츄레이션 됐다라고 보시는 게 맞다고 봅니다. 그리고 PC도 성장을 하고 있는 건 맞지만 예전처럼 급격한 성장이 아니라 되게 완만해진 상황이라고 보여집니다. 하지만 모바일 자체는 사실은 400%, 500%에 대한 얘기가 나올 정도로 급격하게 성장을 하고 있고요. 더더군다나 재밌는 거는 기존 매체인 TV나 인터넷에서 했었던 모든 활동들을 모바일에서 직접 하고 있으세요. 이분 홈쇼핑 컨텐츠마저도 모바일로 보고 계신 분들이 많이 있습니다.
The popularity of mobile shopping has also brought interest from abroad.
In Turkey, the mobile shopping is not very common. That's why we came to Korea to see how mobile shopping works in Korea, so we can take the same system in Korea. So that's why I'm here.
In South Korea, there will likely be more companies joining in on the mobile shopping as the market is expected to grow further to more than $7 billion next year from practically non-existent market only 3 years ago.
예, 시간적, 공간적 제약이 없다는 점이 가장 큰 장점으로 꼽히고 있습니다. 특히 규격 상품이나 반복 구매 상품처럼 그 짧은 시간 내에 구매를 결정할 수 있는 상품들 위주로 모바일 쇼핑이 성장할 것으로 보입니다.
The growth is also certain due to mobile shopping operators being very eager to expand their customer base, even for the companies that have successful businesses running on websites.
모바일 쇼핑 고객 유치를 위한 마케팅 일환으로 모바일 전용 특가 상품을 선보이고 있으며 페이스북, 트위터 등 소셜 네트워크를 통한 지속적인 컨텐츠 노출은 물론 모바일 기반의 게임, 메신저, 통신업체 등 인프라를 활용할 수 있는 전방위적 제휴 전략 체계를 강화하고 있는 실정입니다.
Now, things have gotten simpler and easier to shop on mobile devices, which saves time. It is also becoming the means to become a smart shopper, freely shopping around from different means of commerce to fulfill their needs.
모바일에서 커머스를 했을 때에 느끼시는 그런 불안감은 오프라인이나 PC에서 느끼는 불안감보다 더 크지는 않을 것 같고요. 그리고 가장 중요시하게 생각하시는 개인정보라든지에 대해서는 사실은 저희가 한국적 상황이긴 하지만 미국도 마찬가지인데 개인정보보호법에 의거해서 사실은 되게 철저하게 관리되고 있기 때문에 그런 부분들은 법이 보호하는 상황에서는 충분히 보장을 받으신다라고 생각하시는 게 좋을 것 같습니다.
Mobile shopping app operators already in the business are in the stage of fortifying their distribution and sales network. However, there is still a growing opportunity for businesses looking to expand its market base.
특히 인지도가 낮고 그 소비자들과의 접점이 상대적으로 부족한 중소유통업체 쪽에서 이러한 모바일 시장을 홍보나 판로 개척의 기회로 삼아서 그 경쟁력을 강화할 수 있었으면 좋겠습니다.
With the development of technology, there looks to be a new opportunity waiting to be ventured out. Thus, companies will need to stay keen on the changes in lifestyle and maintain an open channel to communicate with the customers.
Right after attending the G20 summit in St. Petersburg in Russia, South Korean President Park Geun-hye flew in for a state visit to Vietnam. Now, since her inauguration just over 6 months ago, President Park has visited the United States, China and Russia, all major players. So why did she choose Vietnam as her fourth international port of call? Well, to answer that question, we have the right man in front of our cameras today. He's currently a professor here at Sungsil University in Seoul, but up until June, he was an ambassador. He was, in fact, Seoul's man in Hanoi. So welcome to Bizline, Professor and former Ambassador Ha Chan-ho.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
Well, once again, thanks for being here. So, big question, why Vietnam? Why is Vietnam important to South Korea and vice versa?
You see, the importance of Vietnam, particularly in economic cooperation, is not very well known to ordinary Koreans. Altogether, 2,700 Korean companies invested in Vietnam. The total accumulated amount is $25 billion. And the total number of employees hired by Korean companies is around 600,000. And do you know how many flights there are between Korea and Vietnam?
No, but I hope you're going to tell me.
There are 102 direct flights in a week between Vietnam and Korea. And also Vietnam is the largest recipient of Korea's official development assistance. Korean government provides around $320 million every year to Vietnam.
Okay, well those are a pretty impressive set of stats, and I was certainly ignorant of most of that. But of course South Korea and Vietnam have had quite a troubled history, have they not? South Korea was part of the US-led alliance that fought against the Hanoi government in the 1960s and 70s during the Vietnam War. How has that rather troubled history been overcome, or how is it being overcome in Vietnam?
It was not an easy part, but when two countries opened diplomatic relations back in 1992,
okay.
At that time the understanding of Vietnamese government was that history should not be forgotten, but history should not be an issue in the relations of two countries. And they kept and observed this understanding pretty well. And also they proposed that two countries should go forward for the future. And there are some minor incidents, but this history part, or troubled history part, was not sort of a stumbling block in developing relations between two countries.
Okay, well let's talk about the South Korean brand image in Vietnam. How does the average Vietnamese view South Koreans and South Korean companies today?
It's amazing. You see, Korean companies and then Korean products are everywhere in Vietnam.
I mean, there's a lot of talk about the importance of Hallyu as part of South Korea's national brand portfolio. And of course, in Southeast Asia, the South Korean television exports have been very successful. Now, how important a segment is that in upgrading the national image in Vietnam?
You see, Vietnam is one of the country where the Hallyu is received most enthusiastically. This the enthusiasm for Hallyu, the K-pops, or Korean dramas, or Korean food is linked to the sales of the Korean products. So it has a tremendous impact on them,
okay.
Not only on young generation,
Gotcha.
but just the children of that young generation.
What are the major sort of economic cooperation projects underway between Korean companies and perhaps Vietnamese partners in Vietnam?
You see, the Korean companies are just conducting a variety of the businesses there, like Samsung Electronics or the POSCO, the steel mill companies, and also the constructions, and then also the wholesale and retail, or hotels, real estate. So Korean companies are doing a lot of the variety of different businesses.
Now, one of the big sectors which South Korean companies are extremely interested in worldwide, but also particularly in Vietnam, is nuclear power generation. And President Park, I understand, was making significant efforts to sell South Korea's expertise in this area to South Vietnam. How important a market is the Vietnamese nuclear market?
You see, the Vietnam has been developing its economy for almost 20 years at the rate of 5 to 7% per year. And we expect that Vietnam's economy will continue to grow at that rate, at that speed. Accordingly, they need a lot of electricity. Right now, the electricity comes hydropower. About 40% of the electricity comes from hydropower, and the rest of it from thermal plant. And just to meet the demand of the electricity, because it just grows about 15% a year, they decided to build nuclear power plants, 10 units by 2030. So this is quite a big market. And the two countries have already got kind of the approval from Vietnamese government as the chief negotiating the partner. That is Russia and Japan. Each country has got 2 units each. Korea hasn't gone that far, but we have already begun pre-feasibility study jointly with Vietnam in last June, about 3 months ago. And it will last about 1 year. Once it is completed, the next step is to get approval from the National Assembly of Vietnam. Then Korea will be designated officially as a negotiating partner. So that is the goal. And then the President Park this time probably promoted Korea's technology and Korea's experience, and it is included in the joint statement. And joint statement said that Korea's technology and then the experience can be contributed to the development of nuclear industry of Vietnam. And then both countries will continue to cooperate in this field. So the expression is not very clear cut, but certainly the officials from both countries will do the follow-up measures. And this is just a long process, and we are just at the beginning
outset,
part of this long process.
You know, how do you assess the outcome of this last trip, particularly in terms of the nuclear power plant project? I mean, do you seriously think this has carried things forward? Does South Korea now have a better chance than it did previously of building a plant in Vietnam?
Yes, this visit is in fact long overdue. Vietnamese President Nguyen Thanh San visited Korea November 2011, and then Prime Minister Nguyễn Tân Dũng also visited Korea March last year, and there was no corresponding visit of high-ranking the visit by Korean side.
Was President Park the first South Korean president to visit Vietnam?
In 4 years, the former President Lee Myung-bak visited Vietnam in 2009, and then again the next following year he also attended sort of a multilateral the forum in Hanoi. But this visit by President Park is in about 4 or 5 years, so it's long overdue. And this time, this joint statement just included many the agreements, and there is a wide range of the cooperation, and then the nuclear part is very salient in that sense.
But you did note that some of the language was rather vague. It's not entirely clear what the next steps will be. I mean, speaking much more broadly, how positively or negatively do you assess the outcome of this trip?
I mean, as far as this nuclear power plant project is concerned, the more important thing is the will of the people in both countries. And two leaders met and discussed this matter, and then they agreed to have a strong cooperation on this project. So the wording is important, but since this is a very long process, it's rather early to put very clear term wordings in the joint statement. So I think it's quite okay, and then there's no obstacles for Korea and for Vietnam to pursue this important project.
Yeah. And did you think the chemistry between the two leaders was good?
I believe so. Particularly Vietnamese President Jeung Tân Sang. He knows many Korean the businessmen, and also he visited Korea several times, and he just loves the Koreans, the Korean things. So he just showed his affection toward Korea and toward the President Park. So I believe that two presidents have exactly the same frequency and the same chemistry.
Okay, well, let's hope so. Let's talk more broadly again about President Park and her diplomatic outreach. She's talking about sales diplomacy. What is sales diplomacy?
You see, sales diplomacy is not the new thing. It's a very common practice for leaders of the countries to go abroad whenever there are high stakes. And as you can see, some of the leaders from European countries also visited China some years ago to sell this Airbus. So it's not the rare things for the leaders of countries to do this sales diplomacy. And it's also very important when, like in Vietnam, the many projects are initiated by government or state-owned enterprises, and the government, Vietnamese government, has some influence, not some influence, a big influence in these big projects. So personal involvement of a president, and also personal the relationship between two leaders can make some difference. And this time, President Park did her job quite well, and also she was accompanied by a large group of business delegation. Altogether 79 business leaders.
Okay.
And she just attended a business forum with Vietnamese business leaders, and she also encouraged the small and medium-sized company representatives. So I think she did quite well as a salesperson.
Okay. Are you suggesting now that people in your previous profession, the diplomatic profession, should be taking lessons in salesmanship?
Yes, it's very important. I mean, these days there are not many issues about the politics. Most of the job, diplomat job, are just the regarding I mean, this kind of the business job. So if we have the basic knowledge or basic skill about this sales diplomacy, then certainly it will help greatly for the diplomats to fulfill their missions.
Understood. Well, Professor, or if you prefer, Ambassador Ha, thank you very much for being on Bizline. It's been a pleasure having you.
Okay.
Thank you. This Last year, the World Economic Forum chose 10 of the most promising new technologies, and among them was 3D printers. Now, as the name suggests, 3D printers don't print ink on paper. They actually mold a three-dimensional shape. And this technology is being seen as a key advance for the manufacturing sector. Why so? What advantage does a 3D printer bring to an industrial site? Let's find out.
We can build objects on the spot by using 3D printing technology, which enables printing 3D solid shapes. Let's take a look at 3D printing, a revolutionary technology which will change human life and the future of the manufacturing industry. In an automobile research and development center in Gyeonggi Province, a certain sculpture is being built inside a large unfamiliar machine. This piece of equipment is a 3D printer. This research center has already been using 3D printers to print prototypes of nearly all its car parts for about 10 years.
저희 쪽에서 장비를 활용해서 제작된 모급 제품들은 장비마다 정밀도는 차이가 있지만 대부분 0.1mm 이내 치수 정밀도를 가지고 있습니다. 그래서 실제 제작된 사출 물건이랑 거의 동등한 수준의 제품 형상을 구현을 할 수 있다고 보시면 될 것 같습니다.
By using 3D printing technology, also known as rapid prototyping, 3D CAD data designed by a researcher can be built in three-dimensional shapes. A precise model can be manufactured based on stereolithography apparatus method. Under this method, a laser beam is shot into the surface of liquid plastic, which then solidifies.
보면 출도 전에 먼저 제품을 제작을 해보는 역할을 하고 있어서 문제점이 있으면 실물 제작하는 금형을 수정하는 것보다는 설계 데이터를 수정을 함으로써 일정이라든지 시간이라든지 그걸 많이 절감을 하고 줄일 수 있는 역할을 하고 있는 겁니다.
A typical two-dimensional printer prints letters or pictures on papers using ink, but a 3D printer prints three-dimensional models designed by computer programs. The printer builds three-dimensional solid objects layer by layer by sprinkling gooey plastic in thick plastic filaments or in liquid form. Then heat is applied to solidify it, and this process is repeated. Through this method, 3D printers can print more than car parts. US aircraft maker Boeing is already manufacturing aircraft parts via 3D printing. NASA has also decided to make components needed in space stations via 3D printing. Shapeways is a 3D printing marketplace and community. It puts design samples of shoes, bikinis and clothes via online shopping and prints customized products to clients. 3D printing technology is getting more spotlight in the medical sector.
실제로 피부 세포 같은 것을 여러 수만 배로 증식을 시켜가지고 그러한 피부 세포를 우리가 적층을 할 수가 있고요. 그래서 여러 가지 인체의 장기라던가 치아라던가 이런 뼈라던가 그런 것이 전부 세포니까 이런 것을 전부 잉크 소재로 요새 하는 연구가 아주 활발하게 진행되고 있습니다.
Indeed, the personal 3D printer market is expected to grow steadily and reach $590 million in 2018, according to Smart Tech Markets Publishing LLC. Including printers, scanners and software, as well as related service markets, a huge market valued at $1.46 billion is likely to be created. A South Korean 3D printer maker is bringing forward popularization of 3D printers by developing small 3D printers which can be placed on desks.
지금 앞에 보시는 파일이 사람을 스캐너로 촬영한 파일인데요. 1분에서 2분 내지 스캐너로 촬영을 하시고 이제 파일 변환 과정이 필요해요. 파일 변환하시는데 한 1분에서 2분, 수정까지 하시면 5분 정도 걸리는 걸로 예상되고요. 이제 저희 프린터에 SD카드를 집어넣으면 이런 식으로 출력물을 출력할 수가 있는데 사람의 형상의 크기에 따라서 조금씩은 달라지만 3시간에서 4시간 정도 예상됩니다.
The small 3D printer made solely with South Korean technology boasts a world-class level. It can expand or reduce the size of an object by adjusting programs. For big products, it can initially print with partitions and then assemble them. In particular, it uses environmentally friendly materials harmless to the human body, so it can be easily used at home and school.
저희 방식은 그런 필라멘트로 만들 수 있는 모든 형상은 만들 수 있고요. 앞으로 나가야 될 방향 중에 하나는 쇠 가루 같은 것을 녹여서 레이저로 녹여서 하나의 쇠로 된 형상물, 최종 제품을 만드는 그러한 쪽으로 저희가 자체 기술을 더욱 개발하고 있습니다.
Indeed, if 3D printing is popularized, the future of the manufacturing industry is likely to change completely. It will no longer be a labor-based industry, but will become a knowledge-based high-tech industry. It would not be wrong to say the so-called third industrial revolution is on its way.
그러니까 결국은 이제 창의력이 극대화되는 그러한 시대가 오는 것이고, 지금과 같이 제조업은 사라지고 결국은 유통만이 남는 것이죠. 그래서 개개인이 각각의 맞춤형 제조를 하고 그 제조를 자기가 모든 것을 다 제조할 수가 없으니까 결국은 상대방이 제조한 것도 내가 그것을 공급을 받아야 하니까 결국은 유통이 이제 주가 되는데, 그런 온라인 유통이 아주 굉장히 그러한 산업이 많이 발전할 것이라고 생각하고 있습니다.
An increase in customized products reflecting individual tastes and design sharing are expected to be accompanied by intellectual property rights and patent infringement problems. This is a time to improve related systems. The time will come when people can make any products they want and when thoughts become reality. We look forward to the future printed by 3D printers.
There you are. I'm sure you, like me, after your summer vacation, could stand to lose a little bit of weight here and there. But how much weight do you need to lose? Of course, to find out, you need to stand on a scale. And scales are now much more widely used than you might think. They're not just found at the home, they're also found in markets, supermarkets, shops, factories, ports, harbours, and so on. And yet the traditional old-fashioned weight measuring device is going the way of the dodo. In this new era, let's meet this week's hidden champion, the maker of South Korea's first electronic scale.
There was a time when people used a 2-pound balance with masses and the platform scale. Fish was sold by counting the fish heads instead of weighing it, and vegetables were calculated in bundles. Only 30 years ago, mass measurement was considered inaccurate and even outdated.
최근에는 이제 대부분 우리 시장에서 전자저울로 이제 모든 계량을 하게 되는데, 그 전에는 기계식이었습니다. 기계식은 그 안에 용수철이 들어갔거든요. 이 용수철이라는 것은 온도라든가 바람, 풍량 이런 거에 따라서 굉장히 오차가 많아요. 또 한번 눌렀다가 놓으면 이것이 잘 안 늘어나는 경우도 있고 그래가지고 굉장히 국민들이 불편했죠.
For the first time in Korea, an aviation company led an event that involved the process of weighing the A380, one of the world's largest airplanes. During the event, the airplane was weighed at 280 tons. 22 airplane tires are put onto a measurement sensor, and the weight is sent out through digital signals. The different weights are added up and calculated to measure the accurate weight of the plane. The project is the achievement of Korea's leading mass measuring instrument company, KAS. KAS is a company that started out by making scales when accurate mass measurement instruments were not available in Korea. The company has a line of products from the lightweight to heavyweight scales that boast accuracy.
이 전자저울을 가지고 이 상인들한테 이렇게 팔려고 이렇게 시장에 나가 보니까 상인들이 너무 정확하면은 자기 장사가 안 될 것 같다, 이윤이 떨어질 것 같다, 이런 생각을 해서 거의 아무도 사지 않는 이런 환경이었습니다.
KAS has introduced a high level of accuracy in mass measurement at households, the distribution sector, and industries, creating a balanced environment in commodities trade. The mass measurement culture is starting to change at home and abroad thanks to the Korean company.
소비자한테 정확한 전자저울을 쓰면은 사는 사람, 파는 사람 서로 이익이 된다. 이런 생각을 가지도록 우리가 계속 우리가 계몽 활동을 했습니다. 그래서 하나 둘 소비자가 인식하고 또 실제 상인들이 사용해 보니까 계산이 편리하고 또 소비자의 신뢰를 얻음으로 해서 그 가게가 더 이렇게 번창하는 것을 보고 지금에 이르는 것 같습니다.
COS provides a line of mass measurement instruments with various purposes and usage. We visited the grocery corner at a department store where their scale was in use. The scale weighs the produce brought by the customers and prints out the barcode with speed. The COS scale has made the process of weighing and printing out price labels much easier.
계산이 정확하고 빨리 자동으로 잘 나오니까 저희가 너무나 편리하고 좋죠. 사용하기가 너무 좋아요.
The COS product is an essential item at industrial sites. The company has succeeded in creating a mass measurement instrument that can monitor and control the weight at industrial sites where the environment is hazardous and full of loud noise. The technology to build a product that can withstand this kind of environment took years to develop and did not happen overnight. COS also makes the automated system used at courier services and at factories. As a result, accuracy in warehousing has improved at these sites as the weight comparison function was introduced on top of the barcode verification method. The latest invention of COS is the waterproof scale. The ambitious product passed strict international waterproof standards and is able to maintain stability and measurement accuracy under high temperature and high water pressure.
고온, 고압의 물을 분사해도 저울을 사용하는데 아무런 문제가 없게 설계가 된 제품이고요. 주로 이제 수산시장에 적합하게 개발이 됐습니다. 그래서 수산시장 쪽에서 지금 현재 좋은 반응을 얻고 있고, 앞으로도 이제 판매가 계속 지속될 것으로 예상을 하고 있습니다.
COS exports to some 120 countries around the world with growing recognition at home and abroad. The company has continued with its effort in technological development and used the localization strategy for overseas expansion, which created many obstacles that needed to be overcome.
각 나라의 그 화폐가 있듯이 이 각 나라의 계량법이 있어서 한국 저울을 유럽이나 또 미국에 수출한다는 것이 여의치가 않았습니다. 이러한 법들을 우리가 뛰어넘고 각 나라가 인정하는 계량법이 인정하는 인정을 받기까지 많은 시간과 많은 노력이 필요했고 또 거기에 필요한 품질이 또 따라줘야 되는 그런 상황이었습니다.
The COS scales are being developed through a lot of research and used in various ways. It has certainly upgraded the standards for Korea's mass measurement instruments.
계측 기술, 특히 무게 재고, 길이 재고, 시간이 세계의 가장 중요한 우리 인간 생활에서 기초가 되는 측정 기준이 되는데 이건 이미 한국은 이미 선진국에 들어와 있습니다. 그래서 일반적으로 이런 계측이라든가 이 측정이 기초가 없으면은 첨단 산업은 불가능해요. 그런데 우리나라는 그게 돼 있으니까 상당히 이제 앞으로 산업 발전에 아주 기초가 될 거라고 저는 봐요.
The high-quality scales are leading innovation and changes in our daily lives, in commerce, and at industrial sites. COS stands tall as a Korean company in an era when almost everything in the world is being weighed.
The word hero is greatly overused in modern society. It's attached to sportsmen, artists, musicians, people who inspire us rather than those who carry out heroic deeds above and beyond the call of duty. In North Korea, the word has a different meaning again. A North Korean hero is someone the state chooses to represent ideas of struggle, loyalty, or sacrifice. So who are these North Korean heroes? How are they chosen? What do they represent? These are the questions we'll be asking in our North Korean segment.
The definition of a hero: a person who is admired for having done something very brave or having achieved something great, by Cambridge Dictionary. Every society has heroes of its own, be it real people or imaginary characters. North Korea is no exception.
영웅이 된다는 것은 뭐 북한 말로 조선민주주의인민공화국 국민의 최고 영예로 이제 간주가 되는 것이죠. 영웅이 되면 모든 신분에 또 보장이 되고 또 이제 생활도 보장이 되고 그리고 국가와 인민으로부터 이제 존경받는 뭐 그런 사람으로 이제 상징이 되겠죠.
There are two types of hero titles, the hero of the Republic and the hero of labor. The first title, the highest award of all, is usually bestowed upon North Koreans for heroic acts during wartime or for contributing in a major way to the country's advancement. Not surprising that the late leaders of North Korea, Kim Il-sung and Kim Jong-il, received this honor 3 times. No one will break this record for sure.
공화국 영웅칭호를 받는 사람이 그렇게 많지는 않습니다. 이거는 뭐 전쟁 시기가 되면은 많을지 모르겠는데 이 평시에는 그렇게 많지가 않고요. 특히 공화국 영웅칭호는 살아서 받는 경우가 그렇게 흔치가 않습니다. 대남 요원들 같은 경우에는 이 비공개 인물이기 때문에 신문이나 방송을 통해서 공개는 안 합니다.
Unlike the Hero of the Republic title, quite many people have received the Hero of Labor Award. This honor is given to civilians with record performances in their respective fields.
보통 사람들이 이제 할 수 없는 그 초인간적인 힘을 발휘해서 뭔가 이제 업적을 남긴 사람들, 이런 사람들을 이제 그 노력용으로 이제 영웅칭호를 수여하는 거죠. 그래서 그런 노력용들은 이제 우리 삶의 주변에서 가끔 보여요.
스포츠 하는 사람도 있고, 그 다음에 뭐 배우도 있고요. 노력용 중에는. 그 다음에 뭐 과학자도 있고, 기술자도 있고, 하다못해 뭐 농민도 있고, 노동자도 있고, 이제 뭐 다 있습니다.
Though unknown to many, there is one more type of hero, and interestingly, it can only be achieved by women.
모성영웅이라고 하는데요. 간단하게 아이를 많이 낳으면 모성영웅이 될 수 있어요. 아이들을 쫙 앞에 세워가지고 나는 이제 그 장군님의 은덕으로 이렇게 많은 아이들을 낳았으나 내가 부모로서 하는 일은 없고 이 아이들을 다 키우는 거는 장군님 은덕이고 내가 하는 거는 아이들이 자랐을 때 이 아이들을 전부 다 군인으로 만들겠다. 뭐 이런 거 이렇게 다짐하는 엄마들 사진이 가끔 텔레비전에 나오고.
North Korean heroes and heroines are entitled to the government's special care and benefits. Housing and food rations are only the minimum.
어떤 그 승진이나 아니면 뭐 교육이나 이런 그 기회에서 그런 기회가 있을 때 아주 상당히 그 용순위로 쳐주고요. 그다음에 자식들이 만약 이제 커가지고 대학 갈 때에는 우리 이쪽으로 얘기하면은 이제 특례 입학이라고 해서 이렇게 본인이 원하는 대학에 넣어줄 수도 있는 그런 특혜가 있습니다. 그 외에도 뭐 여러 가지 이제 예를 들어서 뭐 월급이 많아진다든지 뭐 이런 것들도 있고요.
Heroes are the envy and a great stimulant to people around them and to themselves as well.
사람들이 나를 주시해서 지켜볼 거니까 내 행동에 스스로 조심을 해야 되고 더 열성적으로 충성심을 표시해야 되고 남들이 500삽 듣고 주저앉을 때 나는 1000삽 뜨기 운동을 해야 되고 이런 식의 그 일종의 모빌라이저로서의 역할을 하도록 자긍심을 주면서 동시에 그 정신적으로 자극하는 그런 시스템으로 활용하고 있다는 생각이 듭니다.
However, experts say the value and material rewards of the designations have dropped significantly in recent years due to overissuance of the titles.
90년대 중반 이후부터 뭐 식량난으로 여러 가지 뭐 사람도 굶어 죽고 또 혼란기에 들어가니까 뭔가 내세운 모델이 필요하고 또 이제 그 사람들에게 뭔가 이제 인센티브를 줘야 되는데 줄 거 없으니까 국가가 이제 그걸 남발을 했고 영웅도 상당히 이제 많이 나오다 보니까 옛날에는 저 정도 일을 했으면 영웅이 될 만하다 이렇게 생각했는데 저 정도 일 가지고 영웅 되나 이렇게 생각할 정도로 또 바뀌게 된 것이죠. 예. 그래서 그 영웅에 대한 가치가 좀 상당히 좀 추락했다고 봐야죠.
Last year and early this year, Pyongyang gave the title of the Hero of the Republic to over 200 scientists, engineers, laborers, and soldiers involved in missile launch and nuclear test. And last year, the same title was even conferred to an old press machine for producing machine guns during the Korean War 6 decades ago.
용충호는 기계에도 줘요. 황당하지만 그냥 뭐 그렇게끔 해요.
The list got only longer earlier this year.
국민의 최고용인 공화국 영웅증을 해주신 이윤종이 어떻게 보답해야 하는지 경의하는 원신이 정말 고맙습니다.
North Korean state media explained that Ri displayed heroic self-sacrificing spirit of safeguarding the security of the headquarters of the revolution in an unexpected circumstance.
김정은이 밤에 어떤 그 밤이나 낮이나 이제 혼자 차를 몰고 이제 막 질주하는 그 이제 습관이 있어서 그날에 막 부관만 데리고 이제 차를 몰고 나갔는데 근데 이제 앞에서 보니까 버스 한 대가 달려오는데 신호등이 바뀌는 찰나에 버스가 이제 그 이 차와 충돌할 수 있는 위기까지 온 거예요. 그러니까 이 여자가 이제 그 버스를 6탄으로 막았다 이거죠. 그래서 막으면서 버스에 깔렸는데 바퀴에 안 깔렸으니까 다시 또 기어나가서 또 막고 해가지고 3번을 버스에 치우면서 그걸 막았다는 거죠 이게. 그러니까 이제 김정은이가 보다가 이 여자가 정말 대단하잖아 이거. 자기를 지키려고 그렇게 했다는 거죠. 그러니까 그 자리에서 그냥 용주라. 그러니까 그 여자는 이제 얼떨결에 그냥 이제 그렇게 했는데 눈 떠보니까 영웅이 된 거죠 이게. 그래서 막 자기도 자기 감정을 주체 못해서 막 울고 막 불고 하면서 막 그렇게 하는 거예요. 그러니까 코미디죠 어떻게 보면.
Anything in excess is usually not good. Reckless use of the award system by the North Korean regime has depreciated the status of its heroes. A reminder to communists in Pyongyang, the definition of a hero is a person who is admired for having done something very brave or having achieved something great.
And that's all we have time for this week. Next week, of course, is Korea's biggest national holiday, the Thanksgiving Day or Chuseok. We'll be carrying a report on how Chuseok, with its traditions of gift giving and of course with its interminable traffic jams and also its time off work, affects the overall Korean macro economy. We'll also be looking at how agriculture is moving into the 21st century by synchronizing with the creative economy. I'm Andrew Salmon, this was Bizline. Thanks for watching, goodbye and happy Chuseok.